But anyways, here I am, and thanks. I don't know if should I do the mic?
Keep the mic on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hi, thanks for being here. Now in this election, it's very important, and it's really hard to stress how important this current election is. Now nobody else besides myself went to challenge Ann, so at the very least, Ann needs a challenger. But there's a lot of really important issues that we face here in the city, and a lot of what happens in this city has a big outcome on what happens to the county that surrounds it. And we can kind of say that Vancouver is like the heart of Clark County. I'm sure a lot of people that live in Clark County don't want to think that, but a lot of what happens there, people have to deal with. And one of the things that we face for Clark County is annexation. Now, I don't know how many of you know about the annexation, but at the most recent League of Women Voters Forum, we brought up the issue of annexation, and I talked about how the city is planning to do annexation in regards to raise revenue, raise property taxes, utility taxes, change zoning, and then if you see that Vancouver has signed on what you call the Complete Streets Initiative, and that's where basically you see a lot of this lane consolidation. That's for bicycles, etc., buses. Clark County is going to have to deal with that in these annexed parts. And so I don't know of any Clark County resident that I've talked to that wants to join the city. The city can't even manage its own territory appropriately. What makes them think that they can seize more property? But what they want to do is they want to seize this property and this territory in order to bring in more revenue. Now the city has had a shortfall since 2022. Now the mayor doesn't see it this way, but we went into a $44 million deficit. And so they were able to shift things on the balance sheet and push it out into 2025, 2026 budget. And they're doing that because so that the city can't go in to the next budget cycle with a deficit. It's illegal under state law. So what they do is they shift it around on the balance sheet. They take things from certain revenue sources. They make estimates and projections. So they believe with what they've done that they're going to get out of this budgetary crisis. And I believe it's the first time in about 100 years that we've been in this type of situation. And that shows you kind of what we've got going on with the leadership here in Clark County, or Vancouver rather. But the reason we got into that crisis, we didn't bring in as much revenue. Sales tax was way down. And the city admits themselves that we've been in a recession since 2022, but yet we're not making any adjustive and corrective action to change that. And so the leadership that we have wants to continue spending. They want to consolidate our roads. We don't need that. We paid for literal complete streets, but what they're doing is they're downsizing that. And so we have all these projects going on, and the city is wondering, yeah, why don't we have money for public safety? Why are we why are we $43 million to $44 million default on our budget? It's because we have these projects. Yeah, we have these stupid projects that we don't need to do. And you look at the Fruit Valley Park, complete retrofit, but we were about $900,000 under budget. What we're doing is we're allowing contractors to bid low, because that's a process here, is you have to award the contract to the lowest bidder. But what we have is contractors, they know they can bid at a certain amount. Once they get the contract,
Did everybody get their phone silenced now? Okay. It's okay, don't worry about it.
at least it wasn't me. So what I was saying is essentially, we've got a lot of budgets, a lot of projects rather that get underbid on purpose, because contractors know if they get the bid, they can add on a bunch of expenses that they say weren't originally on, on the paper at the time. And a lot of times we don't preclude them from going into further projects, and so we're not penalizing these contractors. one of these contractors, and we'll get into it in a little bit. I don't know how much time I have with you guys, but
We have an hour,
okay, awesome.
but we'd like time for questions.
Yeah, and that'd be great. And we're going to get into WSP Global. I don't know how many people know about WSP Global, but you'll know a little bit about them before we leave today. So essentially, we have a lot of projects that aren't necessary, that are happening in the city.
Really?
And we have leadership here that has lost sight of the will of the voters. We have a lot of projects that are being forced in, but the voters have said time and time again that we are against this. And so I alluded a little bit into Safe Streets. Now, the Safe Streets, obviously, from my perspective, I know it's the consolidation of the lanes, it's the roundabouts, but a lot of people don't know that we're not entitled to do this. This is something that the city has signed on voluntarily. This is mostly for state corridors, state property, projects like that. It's mandatory that they do what's called Safe Streets, which is equitable access to these corridors and these areas. We don't have to do that in Vancouver. We've voluntarily signed on, and millions of dollars are going into these projects. In fact, we have a roundabout that's getting ready to be put in, and they're trying to do land acquisitions in order to put this $9 million roundabout in. And what it's turned out to be is they understand that they can get $9 million projects pushed in without a certain amount of approval. And so that's why you see a lot of these roundabouts will be $8 to $9 million, because they know that they can charge that without having to get special approval from the state. And yeah, anyways, the roundabouts are unnecessary, and a lot of these roundabouts, this lane consolidation, it all comes to a company called WSP Global. And this will be your learning lesson on WSP Global. Now, they're a consulting agency out of Canada, Montreal. They're the ones who were heading the Bull Train project in California. Spent, I think, estimation of about $100 million right now, and they haven't even laid 1 foot of track. And so they've also came down into Portland. They've done a lot of the light rail retrofitting, a lot of the Vine type of style buses. WSP Global is involved in that. WSP Global was the one behind the waterfront project. WSP Global was behind the $78 million boondoggle pool in Camas that they shot down. I think it was a 9-1 that the voters said no. And then WSP packed up and they went to another place, and they went to another place. Because WSP makes millions and millions of dollars on consulting. Now, they work hand in hand with an agency called ICLEI. Now, ICLEI is a subsidiary of the United Nations Agenda 21, and that's for sustainability. Now, ICLEI stands for the International Council of Local Environmental Initiatives. Well, Ann signed us on to ICLEI in 2018. WSP comes in 2019 and puts an office up in Vancouver. WSP, and why they're so important, is because they're the ones that are on top of this IBR bridge project. Now, that's set to be a $10 billion project, and WSP knows that they can take about 20% of the cost of that project. So there's $2 billion on the line right now for WSP. And Ann is essentially doing the bidding of WSP. And so there's a lot at stake, $10 billion. $2 billion go to WSP. And that's just one aspect of what we see that we face here. We see also a city council that's hell-bent on taxing the public. I don't know about you guys, but it's really hard to decide if I'm going to fill my tank or like maybe get a little bit of extra groceries. And I run my own business. You know, it's really hard with the expenses, the cost of living, to see that the city council is asking for more money with this Proposition 5. And they say, well, if you don't vote yes on Proposition 5, that'll be on the ballot coming up here in November, that you don't care about public safety. It's your fault. It's not the mismanagement of funds that come down from the city level in our leadership. And so there's a lot of other important issues. Microplastics in our water, glyphosate in the water. Some people don't like the fluoride in the water. I think that if you talk about global warming and climate change, obviously the climate changes. But what we see a lot of times is they use fear tactics, and they say, all the ice is gonna melt if we don't act. If we don't tax you by the mile, all the ice is gonna melt. If we don't, do certain things. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to use also these complete streets to force you out of your vehicle, because they're saying, well, it's hurting the environment that you use your car. Well, it's 95% of the transportation that happens here in Clark County is by vehicle. And they're offsetting that for the 4 to 5% that we have here in the city. And oftentimes you'll sit in traffic and you'll see an empty lane, sitting right next to an empty bike lane. So I guess I'll close, but I'll close in saying that we have leadership here that has been here for a long time. Mayor Ann, this is her 8th year right now as mayor. She wants a total of 12 years. She was on the city council for 4 years before that, on the planning commission for 5 years. And we have a lot of other council members that get voted in time and time again, but we see ourselves getting further in the hole. We see homelessness expanding, not contracting. We see our roads getting worse. We see taxes going higher, but the level of services that we get is lower. And I would just say that, do we really think that the ones that are getting us into this problem are going to be the ones that get us out? I would say we need to vote these people out, every one of them. They talk about equity and diversity, but we don't have equity and diversity of voice on the council. We see the majority of the people are against these projects, and we don't have anybody on this council that represents the majority of the people. I'd say it's time that we make a change. It's time we make a stand against Ann, and we say, we're gonna vote her out because the direction of the city is going in down a bad path. And so thank you, and open to any questions.
Can I start with a quick question?
Yeah.
So I know that she's really pushing for this is it Prop 5?
Yes.
For more police, and of course we want more police, but if they weren't spending all this money on streets that don't need fixing, wouldn't there be money for staffing the police department?
There would, absolutely. And that kind of gets down to the problem of they use fear tactics to try to push an agenda. And it's not just that, it's not just Prop 5. They're also going to try to implement a new sales tax for public safety, a public safety sales tax. And they're already trying to push and apply for a grant from the state. But I just learned recently that they have a 3-pronged approach that they're pushing. It's public safety sales tax, they're trying to get a Washington State grant, and then they're going to try to get this Prop 5 going through. And what that is, it's going to be estimated about $75 per person.
Per what?
Well, per year, sorry.
Okay,
per year,
okay.
per person. I think they estimate that to be about $6 a month. Sure, it's not a lot of money. I think a coffee costs more than that. But at the same time, it adds up. And the city should be better managing its funds. I mean, their budget finance officer said that we've been in a recession since 2022. Obviously, that tells us that people can't afford things. I mean, why is sales tax down so much? Well, sales tax is down because we're holding on to our money. We can't afford to spend it. And that should be a good indicator of if the people can even afford these taxes. So, great question.
I'm fairly new to the state, still 3 years.
Yeah.
So my first question is, are there term limits on this mayor? Secondly, I don't really know anything about you. Can you briefly tell me
Yes,
your
yes.
background? Like, what's your business and stuff?
Yeah, so in regards to the term limits, there is no term limits, I believe.
Oh.
I don't know Ann's quite exact number. I think she's around 74 years old. So we're getting up to the age of, is it time to retire or keep seeking, these terms? And we saw that a little bit with Joe Biden. I don't want to conflate her with Joe Biden, but we do see at these meetings that she's very agitated. She cuts people off that she doesn't like. And she seems like she has a disdain for the public, and that's not because I'm her opponent. I've been in this since 2014 going against these people, and Mayor Ann doesn't seem to care one iota about what the people actually want. But about myself, so I am a small business owner. I've had a small business since 2018. I work in telecommunications. I do cameras, I do structured cabling. I go in, I wire up these mall stores like Foot Locker. I'll do all the speakers. do all the wiring for the cameras, run all the cabling for the equipment that you'll use to check out. I'm actually one of the main guys in Oregon and Washington that does the live stream cameras for all the schools. I did all the Vancouver public schools, Portland public schools, all over Oregon and Washington. I go and install these live stream systems for the field and for the gyms. So when kids are playing their game and it's being live streamed across the country to grandparents or to family, I do all that. And I don't want to say how many jobs, but I've been doing that since 2019, right before COVID. And yeah, anyways.
So what did you do before that?
Yeah, where are you from here?
Yeah, I'm from Portland.
Okay.
And I grew up there till I was about 12 years old. I moved over here. I have, what I did before that, I was a network engineer for Comcast. I went out and worked in Florida as a network engineer, did a little bit of that here. I was a fiber optic technician for CenturyLink, and then we decided that the conditions were unsafe where we were working. We weren't being trained adequately, and so I thought unionizing was a good idea, so I pushed to unionize because I thought it would be safer, and we won the vote. But then the company decided that if we were successful with this, it would look bad for all the branches across the United States, so they left the area for the required time, which was I think just over a year. And so I was out of a job, and I decided, well, this would be a great time to start my own business.
Very good for you.
Yeah, so, and I've been successful.
Good.
Yeah.
So I have a question about the Save the Streets petition effort that we all worked on. I know, did everybody in here sign that? I know we worked on that, and I think we met all the required parameters for a petition. Why did it get, how did it get destroyed or ruined or set aside or? What happened?
It seems that the judge has sided with the city.
So they took it to a judge?
Yeah, and from what I understand, I'm not following it super closely, but I do believe they even lost the appeal. And so I think that right now it's up for them to go to the Supreme Court, I believe.
Okay.
I mean, don't quote me 100%, I do believe they did lose their appeal. And I think that just kind of shows us that there is a plan in place, and that's why I brought up ICLEI. ICLEI is super important. A lot of people don't know what ICLEI is, and it's literally an offshoot of the United Nations Agenda 21, which has now been updated to Agenda 2030, and that's all on sustainability, land acquisition, and putting people in these quote-unquote 15-minute cities. And we just heard that at the League of Women's Voters Forum. They're talking about building these 15-minute communities. They don't even deny it anymore. I mean, it's something that they literally are admitting, but they've denied it for years. But I would just say that it just kind of shows you that there's a plan in place, and it doesn't matter what the people say, because that's not it. And then Gary, and then you. Sorry, Gary?
Yeah, I know our current mayor is blaming the homeless situation on the surrounding Clark County cities.
Yeah.
Washougal, Battleground, Camas, saying they're pushing them out, and that's why our homeless problem is the way it is. How do you feel about that? What do you think the problem is and
Yeah.
a solution?
Well, I don't think Battleground, Camas, Washougal would contribute all that much to it. What I see it as years of allowing and being complacent to people camping in public spaces and thinking that you have compassion. They believe it's compassionate to let people live out on the streets in all types of weather conditions and do drugs, get high, defecate in public, leave needles, throw trash over people's fences when they lived on the Vancouver Sound Wall, just throwing trash and needles over the wall. We've been fighting infestations of rats for like the last 2 years, and I believe that came from the sound barrier activity. So I think it's just years of being complacent and people coming here as a refuge because they know that it's not going to be, certain things aren't going to be enforced here. And so we've created the perfect environment for these people. And yet we want to blame these other cities, which I think is kind of laughable. But we haven't had good, strong leadership, and I think it just takes people to say, look, okay, sure, you're going to do this bridge shelter. You're going to bring 120 beds. We do have other shelters here. all right, let's do the bridge shelter. Let's give you one more option. But then let's start being stern and say, you're gonna take the options that we give you, or we're gonna give you a ticket and some money, go to Portland, go wherever you want, but you're not gonna stay here. We're not gonna allow people to be camping outside of businesses. We're not gonna allow people to be scaring the community the way they do, because the number one thing is it's not compassionate.
No.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, I know the Mill Plain and 205 exit there, they're always camping in there. And they're actually
Oh, isn't that awful?
tearing
It's
bark
a
off
dump.
the trees, and that kills the trees.
Absolutely.
Because they burn it in the winter.
Yeah, and they're allowing them to do these warming fires, they call it. It's like, you can't have a fire in your yard. I was trying to burn a little bit of brush secretly one day, and I got turned in, and the fire department showed up. But you're allowed to burn whatever you want, plastic, bark off trees, etc., if you're homeless. So we've got a certain set of laws for the homeless, or lack thereof, and then we've got other laws for the public. What did you have to say, sir?
I think I forgot.
Oh, okay, well, any,
Well, the mayor was here a few months ago at the Democrat Forum, and she was sharing how wonderful her homeless program was working. She called it a three strike process, where they had 3 contacts, and at the 3rd contact something was supposed to happen, but it just seems they just move. What they can't move from place to place, but it doesn't seem like the problem is solved. How would you? I'm sure you probably had this discussion with her in any kind of a debate situation.
well, we actually didn't get that far
Oh.
into it. She likes to deflect.
Okay.
So she likes to say that they're not doing certain things, and when they really are. So yeah, what they're basically doing is they're pushing them from one area to the other.
Is that what happens? Okay.
Oftentimes. I mean, they say that they're going to lock these people up and give them fines, but oftentimes that doesn't happen because they know that the homeless people, they can't pay the fines, and so what it comes out to be is it's a misuse of public services to lock these people up and keep them in jail and issue them citations. So it's like another way of the homeless essentially living under certain laws that we don't have access to. It's like they're gonna pull you over because they know you have a job and they're gonna give you a ticket. But they're not going to enforce the law for the homeless people because they know that they can't afford to pay it.
I have one more homeless question.
Yeah.
Does anybody else? So do you know? Oh, go ahead. Your turn.
Well, I didn't really have a question.
Yeah.
But, first of all, thank you for running.
Yes, sir.
I think what it takes to run primarily is courage, especially in today's environment.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that. I don't think any candidate out there should be running unopposed.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're here and bringing all these issues up needs to be done. In terms of the consultants, I've always defined a consultant as somebody who, steals your watch to tell you the time.
Yeah.
And it's, it sounds like that's what's going on.
Absolutely.
I actually have to leave a little early, but anyway, thank you. very
Well,
much.
blessings, there's some cards on the way. I'll take as many as you like, and
Do you have any campaign signs?
I think I have a couple in my my vehicle.
But we have time for more questions though, so we're doing good. So I had a question for you. Do you know the Evergreen Transit Mall there at 136th and 18th?
Yes.
It used to be a place where you could park your car and get on the bus, and now it's been taken over by a homeless encampment.
Yeah.
And I zipped in there and parked my car for a second, and I got kicked out.
Yeah.
So what's the deal? What's going on there?
To be honest, I'm not quite sure. I have as many questions about it as you have.
Okay, it's kitty corner to the Evergreen High School, so are you
Absolutely.
aware of
And
it?
I've seen it like this
Yeah.
because I remember when it was a transit center
Yeah.
as a kid, I used to, get off and use that as a junction.
Exactly.
And I think that it's been since COVID, probably 2019, or has it been longer?
I'm not sure.
I mean,
I just,
It's like a sanctuary area for homeless, essentially,
Okay.
like a safe place. I don't
Uh-huh.
know the particulars on it, how long they're gonna keep it, if it's always going to be there for them. I
Okay.
mean, we see a lot of these little communities, and since we're talking about homeless, I mean, we ought to just talk about some of these little communities that we see all over Vancouver. I mean, we have that one there, we have one in downtown Vancouver area by the courthouse. We have one on Main Street up by Kiggins Bowl. We have one off of 112th, right across from the state police over by YMCA. And a lot of times when you have these little huts, so you see these like little concentration camp style huts, these are about $50,000 to $80,000 a hut. Yeah, so it's a lot of money. I mean, you see sometimes you got about 20 of them in there. And you're like, well, how much does it cost to build a house? Well, how much does it cost to build a facility that actually is going to house these people permanently, that we can put staff and that we can have mental health experts there to work on the things that these people actually need. So the city has an approach of housing first. And I think we know if we study homelessness and how it's addressed across the United States, that housing first solutions work fine for people who are specifically down on their luck. But the majority of the homeless that we have, I'd say probably about 80 to 90% of the homeless, it's not people that can't afford to pay their rent. I mean, maybe that's how it started, who knows? But in most instances, it starts from using drugs and having serious mental health issues. Now, I don't know if it's the methamphetamine, I don't know if it's the fentanyl use, but people standing on the corner just screaming at the top of their lungs wasn't something that I used to experience as a child. It's not something I remember seeing a whole lot, but you pull up through these lights and you see people just screaming to the sky. And it's like, is that a result of a long-term period of drug use? Or is it mental health? I don't know, but I do know that to solve these issues, we have to address the root cause. And it's getting these people the mental health they need. And it's giving them an ultimatum that if we want to get them into public housing, we do have to make sure that their pee, that their pee is clean, essentially, that they're not using drugs. And maybe we need to come up with like group homes for these adults. I'm not quite sure. I don't know exactly what we can do to solve it, but I do know that there are a lot of territories and cities that are successful in working with addressing the root cause first instead of housing first. Because housing these people who are in a mental crisis is not going to fix the issue.
The other thing that won't fix the issue is just ticketing and letting go.
Right.
Ticketing, letting go.
Yeah.
Ticketing, you have to force choice on them.
Absolutely.
It's the only way to get anybody to do anything, and I
That's
think
right.
that is true for any person.
Well, and
You
that's a
have to
great
be
point.
Forced to make a choice before you do the choice. And it might not be the choice we want them to make, but the thing of it is they have to be forced to make a choice.
Well, and that's a very important point and great assessment. And I think that's why we see a lot of times that law enforcement is not ticketing these people, because it's not going to do anything for them. It's going to take resources away. But at the same time, we do need to take it serious, and we do need to be addressing it. We can't be addressing it with just fines and fees. We have to be making ultimatums that we're not going to allow you to just live in camp here anymore. Are you out of here?
You got my vote.
Take as many cards as you want.
Well, and I'll get you a sign.
I'll leave a sign
no
for
worries.
Jill.
Yeah.
I have a strategic spot, so.
Okay.
Yes, he does.
Him being new, he grabbed one of your cards, where can we all, and he needs money, you guys, it comes down to that, he who has the most money wins.
Yeah.
He needs money and support, I'd like to contribute, is there a limit how much I can contribute?
Yeah, I believe it's 1,000. I don't
Okay.
think you can do more than 1,000. If you go on, there's a website on that card.
Yeah, I got it.
There's a link on there. I did give Send Go because when we had the trucker rallies and stuff, they didn't suspend people's accounts. They allowed people to get donations. So I tried to pick an outfit that I thought was reputable, and that's why I'm going with them. Gary, you first, and then you.
Yeah, are you mini reporting or full reporting?
I'm doing full reporting.
Yeah, I think 1,200 is.
1,200.
I think 1,200, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir.
Yes, I got a question on the bridge,
Yeah.
and, I'm totally opposed to it. What's your feelings on the bridge?
Well, I'm glad you bring that up because I don't think I addressed it enough. The bridge, okay, so the bridge situation is a very interesting one, and this is probably why the election is the most crucial, because it's a $10 billion project, but there is a plan. So David Medor, I don't know how familiar you are with David, but he did a study that we can do a bridge from either 192nd to 181st over in Portland, or from Camas over into Troutdale. And it would cost about $450 million for Washington State, about the same for Oregon, about $450 million, and then the federal government would take up the rest. And so, City of Portland obviously was not in favor, because the City of Portland is bent on light rail. Because right now, TriMet is facing a huge budget crisis themselves, and this is kind of like the thing to get them out of their situation. We gotta bring the light rail across, because if they do, then they can obviously expand here in Clark County. They can go up to the A, they can come out to the east side of Vancouver. And so originally, C-Tran said, well, we're not gonna pay for it. Well, they've already got C-Tran to turn around and say, okay, we'll pay for the maintenance and operations of it. And it's gonna be about $2 billion for 1.83 miles of track. So not even 2 miles of track at $2 billion total. We could have a bridge for about $1 billion over here on the east side.
Yep.
And so everything they say about this IBR project is a lie.
Yep.
They say it's gonna relieve congestion. It won't. It will make it worse. There will be more interchanges, and these interchanges cause more backups. They say, okay, we need to replace I-5 because if there's an earthquake, the I-5 will collapse. Well, if you look at the studies, the new bridge isn't even gonna meet the seismic standards to withstand that earthquake that they're talking about. So that bridge is gonna be just as susceptible as the I-5 to a collapse in the big earthquake. And then the tolls, I mean.
Yeah, the tolls.
Yeah, so it's gonna be like $20 a day,
Mhm.
and I don't know anybody that can afford that. And then, obviously the light rail, and I think when it comes in, they're gonna have to demolish the Hurley building.
Yep.
The light rail's gonna be like docking about that area, it's gonna be about 70, 80 feet in the air. When they bring the IBR in, they're hedging their bets on that, because what they wanna do is rezone all the area in and around the library so they can do high density housing. They want to increase revenue there in sales tax, property tax. So everything, they're hedging all their bets on this IBR. And Mary Ann wants it because she wants a legacy. WSP wants it because they want their $2 billion, which is probably gonna go up because it's at 10 billion right now. It's most likely gonna go to 20 billion, 40 million, or billion, sorry. And then WSP knows they can take about 20% of that. So it's just gonna go up for them. And then obviously TriMet, you know, they need this as well. And that's why the City of Portland is not going to sign on for the East Bridge. But if we do the East Bridge, we take all of the congestion from the east side of Vancouver and the east side of Oregon over by Wood Village, Troutdale, Gresham, take all that off 84, all that off 205, all that off I-5. So we literally reduce congestion by doing a third bridge. And I believe we can do it without doing tolls.
Plus you have a redundancy if a bridge is lost.
Great
Yes,
point.
right.
I mean,
And we could reinforce, with all the money we spent on these studies for the IBR, we could have reinforced the I-5 and made sure that it would be safe, and maybe not, I don't know anything that would maybe survive in the quote-unquote big earthquake, but it would survive a serious magnitude earthquake.
Yeah. When the mayor was here, she said a couple of things. She said that it's absolutely impossible to build a bridge anywhere except the I-5 bridge. All the other locations, it is absolutely impossible. Whereas I know that there have been engineers who've conducted studies like the 192nd, that interchange, the 192nd down to Gresham was planned when the 205, it was supposed to be done after the 205 bridge was done. That one was supposed to be done. And then another one was supposed to be done on the east side.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, on the west side. On the west side.
Yes, on
The west side, yeah, up through Hillsborough, that area. And then the other thing, I asked her, I said, okay, so how much are those tolls going to be? And she said, oh, well, at night it'll be $0, and then at day, maybe $1.75.
Well,
So what are the current estimates of the tolls?
well, it's gone up, and I don't think there's an exact number, because we don't even have an exact number on what the bridge itself is gonna be. They're gonna come out with a new estimation they say in December. So I think they're waiting until the election's over, and then they're gonna come out with their new cost analysis in December.
Yeah.
for a bridge that still isn't tall enough to be approved by the Coast Guard. So
And
we
that's-
have a new estimate that is still
Yeah.
not for a bridge that's
Yeah.
buildable.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly, and then their spokesperson, Gary Johnson, he used to be a former executive in WSP Global, so
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
just baking in their own people into this program. And,
Yeah.
obviously, it's not true what she's saying,
Yeah.
but a cost estimate of tolls that I've heard $10 per crossing. And that's where we talk about this
Yeah.
$20 a day. I mean, obviously that's kind of outrageous, but I'm hearing an upwards of even $15 a day. But even if it was $5, I mean, that's a lot of money.
It is, it
It's
is.
a significant
Yeah.
amount of money.
Well, and besides that, Oregon is talking about tolling down I-5, down all the way down to like Wilsonville.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you add up all the tolls, because I went and I testified at one of the CTRAN meetings,
Okay.
because my sister lives in Salem, and they're telling them that they're going to be tolling I-5 all the way down there, and it could be literally impossible for my sister and I to see each other, except for maybe once a year, because it'll be too expensive.
Yeah, well, that's sad, but it's going to be what they want. They want to keep you out of your vehicle. It's like in COVID, they wanted everybody to stay at their house and communicate via webinar. And a lot of our public forums haven't even come back to in-person. I mean, the ethics board review, or ethics committee, or whatever you call it, was there yesterday, and it's still virtual. So they're obviously trying to create an environment that makes it very hard to be on a motor vehicle. And I was just listening. If you go on to cvtv.org and you listen to the questions between Eric Paulson and Derek Thompson, I mean, they subtly will admit what they're up to. I mean, Eric Paulson, who's the current counselor, he said, you know, we want to create an environment, we want to create incentives that make it to encourage you to take different modes of transportation. But it's not encouragement. They want to create an environment that makes it very, very hard to use a motor vehicle, and they want to force you onto public transit. So that's very sad.
Yep.
So if there is a change in if you become mayor,
Yeah.
how much control would you have over any of this?
So the mayor sits on a lot of these boards that decide, and without the approval of the city, it's going to be very hard for them to get this through. Now, the mayor sits on CTRAN board, she sits on the regional transportation committee, and she just strongly has a huge amount of, I would say, persuasion with bully pulpit. And if we could get in a few people, a few councilor members that are in favor. I mean, Bart Hansen, I don't know him super well. I've run against him a few times. He seems like a very smart individual. I'm surprised sometimes of some of the positions he takes. But Derek Thompson, he's not a politician. I mean, you can tell when he's answering some of these questions. Sometimes he doesn't know the answer, but when you sit down and you talk to him on the side, he's a reasonable individual. I think you could work with somebody like him. I hope he gets in. Punta Gray. Now, Punta Gray, I see her kind of praising the mayor a lot, but I think she's doing that for strategic purposes. I think she knows that, or she believes rather, that the mayor's gonna, get in, and I think the mayor believes that as well. The mayor's not doing much campaigning, and even if you look at this endorsement by the Columbian, for the fourth time now, I've been disinvited or not invited to the Columbian's editorial board meeting. They don't let me go and challenge my opponent, and I'm just wondering, why would Ann go to an interview like that when they're not allowing her opponent to be there? So I think things are being put in a way to kind of make it easy for Ann to win.
Right.
But I do think that if I am successful, which Ann is at her all-time lowest, I think, approval right now, we just really got to be, everybody in here has to get multiple people to vote for me and not Ann, and then them, because we have to have a grassroots movement. We have to create what you call it too big to steal, because I think there is a lot of speculation about our elections. There have been a lot of anomalies that have happened. We do use machines that you can literally log into remotely. It's not speculation. And so I think they estimate there can be an upwards of 10% of fraud that are baked into these elections. So you have to have enough votes to counteract that.
Yeah.
And I don't know any proof of that. I mean, I can't say emphatically that they rigged these elections, but I know that the potential exists. And so if I can get a group of council members that I can work with, I think we can make some serious change. And even if I can't, I've got the bully pulpit. I'm the spokesperson of the city, and things that I say are going to have impact. And I'm not playing their games. I'm not the kind of if I if I win this election, they're going to need to change their underwear, I guarantee you. And that's why I don't get invited to these events. So it'll be exciting, I think, for the city to win. It's not for me.
So what do you think, I think it's going to be on our ballot this time around, that they're trying to split up the city into districts like the county is split into districts. And I initially thought that was a good idea, so that, for example, most of the city council live in a generally one little area.
Yeah.
So we really don't have representation out here on the east side. So I've kind of heard pros and cons about doing this districts for the city, like the council, like the county does. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I am against it.
Okay.
And I'm against it for certain reasons.
Okay.
No, I do agree. A lot of the council is consolidated on the west side.
Yep.
And we talked about diversity of voice, diversity of leadership in the city, we need that. I don't think we should force it. I think that the elections right now are great because anybody in the entire city can run for certain positions. I think that's great. If we start creating these districts, we create council members that can only have say, mostly, in certain districts. And so I think what they'll do is they'll district it in a way that will be in their favor, where they can get certain things accomplished and they can keep certain people out of the debate. And so there will be a few positions that are, I think, at large to where it'll be citywide. I'm sure the mayor position will be that way. But I would just say, generally I would be against it because it will take opportunity away from the voters. And I think that that's something that we should be enhancing. I think we should be enhancing opportunity. I think we should be finding ways to incentivize more people to get involved, more people to get into politics, and morale is pretty low here in the city. So anything we can do to increase that, and that's why I'm focused on cutting waste, cutting spending, looking at programs that we can get rid of, things that we can downsize, because wouldn't it be really great if we actually cut taxes a little bit? I mean, that would be really awesome.
What
I think
an
that
idea.
would raise morale there. It would give the people a reason to actually be passionate, or to be happy to be a citizen of Vancouver. And what we see, we're forcing people out. We're having people move to Idaho. We're having people move to Texas. Yeah, so, go ahead.
Rhetorical question number one. You have this tremendous experience building a successful business that's done very, very well. How can you possibly manage the city without 20 years of political cronyism? Rhetorical question number two. The 15-minute cities that they want to have, wouldn't that preclude the need for the train? Because you were supposed to be within 15 minutes. The actual question, though, is that we've had a couple of tax increases in the last elections because, we want more money, much as you're saying with the proposition, they want more money. And it's been approved with 13 to 18% of the vote, which drives me crazy. But the opportunity in an election is, if only 25, 30% of the population is voting, how do you get that other 70% who don't seem to care enough about what's affecting their lives to wake up and say, hey, wait a second, the leadership we have is not helping us, and vote for somebody who doesn't have that 20 years of cronyism experience.
Well, that's a good point.
Very
That's
good
kind of why
question.
I talk about we need to incentivize and create an environment that makes more people want to be involved. Voter turnout in the primary, I think, was 27%. Who knows what it will be here in the general? It's probably not going to exceed 40. If I was the president, or if I had communication with the president, I think, personally, that voting, election day, should be a holiday. I think that people should have the ability to take that day off work. I think it should be incentivized. We've got Juneteenth, we've got all these, holidays that are important, but I think election day is probably one of the most important days for this country, because it dictates the fate of where we're going to go. And so, if I had Trump's ear, I would say, hey, make election day a national
Write him
holiday.
a letter.
Yeah, absolutely. Sir.
Yes, I subscribe to the Columbian, and their editorial page really leans to the left.
Totally.
Have you or your Republican friends sent a letter to the editor and it never saw the light of day?
Absolutely, and that's kind of an example, like, they made a recommendation to Ann today, it just came out this morning. And I wasn't even invited to the editorial board interview to even make my positions. And what they've said is that I'm not a viable candidate. But I think it's up to the voters to decide that. I think what we see is a lot of manipulation by the Columbian, and they have a strong presence here. And so I think that they should use their authority responsibly, and I don't think they do. And I think that the city, I believe, has some involvement with Columbian. I know when we do postings for like public notices and stuff like that, we have to use the newspaper. So I think maybe we need to look and see how much the Columbian is really trying to manipulate and control what's happening here in the city, and decide if we want to continue some of these contracts with them. Maybe we want to use the resources, maybe we want to move towards Clark County today.
Just to piggyback off of that, 2 years ago when I ran for school board, they endorsed my opponent, a 24-year incumbent, and they endorsed another gentleman for another position over the incumbent in that position. And both I won, and the person they endorsed on the other position lost as well. So they endorsed two people for school board that lost. So maybe their endorsement isn't quite as,
Yeah, it's like
I
a
take
kiss,
it you
kiss
were
of
one
death.
of the non-viable candidates.
well, I was invited to the forum.
But you won.
Yeah, well, they already came out against me,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's not
And,
necessarily.
yes, and some of the things they even said in their editorial, not necessarily about me, but was completely wrong. The guy didn't even do his homework.
Right.
Yeah, so.
And I actually wrote him after the election and said, your endorsement seems to be the kiss of death.
That's a good point, and, they labeled me as a conspiracy theorist, but a lot of the things
Yeah, I'm
that
an
were
election
conspiracy
denier.
are now proven to be true. I mean, we're having things come out about these COVID shots, they're attributed to cancer, and we knew that. We knew they were experimental, and we've got the mayor literally going on, city council, forums and broadcast by CBTV and saying, good job, Vancouver. We're at 40% vaccinated. Keep doing it. It's safe and effective. And I'm like, well, we've got a mayor giving us medical advice.
Yeah.
There should be something that precludes her from doing that. But how many people have been hurt by her actions? And so, how many of these conspiracy theories are really true? So, when we talk about viability, I think that I think the Columbians should allow everybody to be heard and let the voters decide.
Yep.
Do you go to many speaking places to let people know about you?
I go to as many as I'm invited to. I've reached out to a lot of places. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get into a lot of places because of, I think, if they let me in, they'll have to let my opponent, or have to let other people in, they'll have to give fair and equal access. So unfortunately, no, I'm not getting out as much as I'd like to. So if anybody in this room has something that they would like to have me come to and speak, like your church.
Invite people to your home, have a coffee or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what they're hedging their bets on, is they can try to ignore our campaign as much as possible. And the charter review commission seats are very important, but it's all very important. This mayor seat is super
Extremely.
crucial that we win. And I'd say it's crucial that we win all of them. Puna Gray, I hope she wins. I endorse Puna.
I did too.
I think that she's playing something safe, but I think she's very smart. I think she's got good instincts. I hope Derek Thompson wins, because I think Eric Paulson is, I think he knows what he's doing is wrong, but I think he has to frame it in a way to get reelected. And when you're doing things, you don't want to feel like you're evil or like you're doing things that are harming people, but I do absolutely believe their policies are hurting the public. And then, there's another race, Diana Perez. I can't say. Diana is interesting. She's very liberal. She's willing to talk with you and have good discussion. I think you can kind of sway her a little bit. Her opponent, Robert Elkin, I believe. I don't know much about the guy. I've tried to call him, tried to talk to him. Not very easy. I can't say what I would advocate. He's a veteran, so he's got that going for him. But if you guys have questions, give Robert a call, talk to these people, try to get familiarized with them. But I think Quinn is great. Derek Thompson's a good guy. Hopefully we kick Ann out, because if we have another 4 years of Ann, I think it's gonna seal the fate. I mean, we're gonna get that bridge in. It's just gonna be disastrous. The city of Vancouver will not look the same.
No, the crime will come over.
Yeah, and Delta Park is where it ends.
Yep.
That's the worst part of Portland. We're
That's
gonna
where the
extend that right
homeless
into
camps-
Vancouver.
Yeah, homeless camps there, yeah.
Well, I can spend a few more minutes
Yes.
with you, but I know we gotta go. I'm actually going to CBTV today
Okay.
to do a side-by-side interview with Ann, so we'll
Okay,
see how that goes.
well, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off, but we can keep talking, okay? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.